All right, Coley, tell me one thing. What do you see that your clients are struggling with when they're looking to, make more money, but they're doing something that maybe isn't the smartest marketing decision?
I feel like they're listening to the people that tell them, "Go post on Instagram some more." And I'm like, "Do you actually know that you have clients on Instagram?" I mean, unless
Yeah.
you have the data to back it up. Like, if you are actually someone who goes to Instagram and posts and you get like 2 or 3 leads, hey, bravo to you. That's definitely not
Yeah.
me. But I feel like I've been on this kick recently where people are not marketing to the people that are actually more likely to tell you yes. And that's the people that have already paid you. And so whenever I get somebody in my world that's like, I need to fill 3 more spots, or, I'm looking to hit an income goal of this much. And I'm like, okay, did you send an email to your current clients? And they always
Yeah.
look at me like deer in headlights. And I'm like, your first stop for anything should be the people who have already paid you.
Right, that you've already provided that good customer experience for. So like they would be not only like trustworthy, like you don't have to build trust there, but there's that level of opportunity for like excitement because like, okay, like what else can we do together? Tell me more about this, Coley. I'm going to interrupt you before we kind of go into this though, because I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. What do you say when someone says that they don't have a business that has many like recurring clients?
You know what? I hear that a lot. I usually hear it from the wedding photographers because let's
Yeah.
be honest. I mean, I've been married to one man for 25 years and I didn't have
Mhm.
wedding photography the first time. But if I got remarried, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that is an
Yeah.
offer that you don't necessarily need to repeat. So there are quite a few wedding photographers that when they push back on that, I say, okay, but what are you doing for referrals? And then they look at me and I'm like, yeah, the thing about being married is that when you are getting married, you likely have lots of friends who are also in the same stage of life that are getting married. And so sometimes when you are trying to get more money from your current clients, it isn't about them rehiring you. It is about them sharing the process of working with you because they likely have someone in their circle of friends or like business besties who could use whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, 100%. I've had clients in somewhat similar situations as well, and they'll say like, "Oh, it's just not a repeating business, and I don't want to have like a paid referral program because I really truly like to vet my
Mhm.
clients and customers." You don't need a paid referral program. You just need good relationships, right? Like you can make like a little like star on your like client sheet and that says clients you really liked working with and clients that you think might have a good network that you could tap into, and then just send a personal email that says like, "Hey, Coley, I loved working with you. I'm looking to bring more clients in. I'm looking to do these mini sessions. I'm looking to do XYZ. Do you know anyone that is also, that could benefit from something like this?" That is like that you can skip the whole paid referral part and literally just communicate like human to human to get the same type of result.
I do feel like when people say paid referral program, it's like they imagine that people are all of a sudden going to go spread their services just so that they get paid. No, most people will talk about you whether you ask them to or not. But some people
Totally.
might put forth just a tiny bit more effort if they know that it's important to you. I mean, I love talking about the people that I've worked with successfully. Like, I want everyone to kind of experience the same thing that I did with a service provider. And I don't care if they're going to pay me for the referral or not. I mean, that's
Mhm.
not why I do it. I do it because I had a great experience and I think other people should get it as well. And so, and then also, can we just take a step back and say that it doesn't
Yes.
even need to be like a paid referral? Like, I often encourage my photographer clients, if you're going to ask your clients for a referral or you're going to ask them to share about you on their socials or whatever it is, it could just be that you give them a gift, not that you're giving them cash. And for those of us that sell products out of a gallery, I've started encouraging people, you can just give them print credit. Like go into your gallery software and give them a $25 credit so that they can buy an 8 by 10 image and go on about your business. That is not something that is going to be, like troublesome for you. It takes like 3 minutes. But
Yeah,
you do
totally.
it, you don't do it. I still think you need to be asking people to share their experience of working with you, and that will naturally bring in more like minded clients.
Yeah, and as for the print credit, I mean, think about it this way: you're likely going to make more money, right? So like you give someone a credit in your shop, they will potentially and most likely spend more than the credit that you're giving them. So it's a smart business decision for that. And I think that there's something I want to say. You said, "Can we jump back?" And I was like, "Yes," because I really wanted to jump back. I went too far forward with that paid referral thing. When it comes to, you brought up the good example of the wedding photographer, because I think that makes perfect sense. It's easy to assume that you're likely not going to need a wedding photographer many times in your life. But that does not mean that they cannot have products geared toward their former clients. Okay, so you have what we just mentioned, actual print stuff, right? Maybe you run a flash sale on memory books or any type of things that are related to the actual wedding. But one way to be creative about it, and this won't work for all photographers, but think of like how can you accent like the next phase of life. Now, that does not mean you need to go take baby pictures. That is not my suggestion. But what is the number one most neglected thing as adults get married and move through different stages? That relationship. So do an anniversary shoot. Like do like a pop-up tiny little thing where you are like, 1 year anniversary of your wedding, or you take out some wedding memorabilia, whatever it is. Not all wedding photographers are going to like that. They're going to be like, no, thank you. I have no interest in that. But if it is something and you're trying to have a cash infusion, or you just want to fill time, because in the wedding industry, it's very seasonal, that's a great option, is to just try to think to yourself, how can I be more creative with this? It doesn't have to be something you do long term, but something that you can adjust for, temporary measures.
Now, one of the things that I will say about like wedding photographers, because I do come across more and more of them that will only do weddings. They're like, no, I don't want to do anniversary sessions. I don't want to do families. I just want to do weddings. And so the thing that I always tell them is that's okay for you guys. I mean, let's talk about referrals. Let's talk about, increasing your lifetime client value in other ways. But for those that actually do those other like photography sessions later in life, I find that more and more they don't talk about them and they're not on their website. Because I mean, you're the SEO expert, right, Aaron? Wedding
Oh, come on,
photographers.
please. I have to interrupt you. Photographers and like home contractors are my favorite people to ever talk about, like ever. Because photographers have the most beautiful pictures and they like refuse to put words on their website because here's the deal. Same thing with home contractors. For the most part, word of mouth or local advertisement of sorts gets you booked. So you are comfortable being booked. Where, if you invest more heavily in your website, you could be booked with much better clients at a better rate in a way that feels better for your lifestyle. But and listen, I'm not picking on you photographers. I love you all. But like photographers just get lazy and lean on those images instead of, sorry for interrupting you, Coley, doing things like SEO that could be serve them so much better, so they don't have to worry about things like cash infusions or whatever, because they're just increasing a better client load for them. End rant. Please continue. My sincere apologies.
Okay, where I was actually going with this is when it comes to like if they're really focused on their SEO, which my clients tend to be. Like I do have people that understand the words that go on the page and maybe that's because I rant about it constantly. But what I do find is that if they are really trying to mostly do weddings and they kind of think of families and all of those other things as boudoir, for example, as like a side hustle, they actually don't have pages on their website that cover those other types of photography that they do. And so sometimes when they're like, oh no, well, I'll do family sessions. I'm like, okay, but your website doesn't have any. So how do your wedding clients know that you will do that for them? And then there's the deer in the headlight stare. And I'm like, are you telling them as part of your offboarding process? Hey, when you guys are ready, when you buy a new house, if you're going to have a family, when you start having babies, because of course we can't assume everybody's going to have babies. Don't do that. But you want to make sure that they know that if there are future phases of their life where it is appropriate to come back to you for photography, that you are actually communicating that, especially if those types of photography are not visible on your website for them to just know.
Yeah, and can we actually, I know we're talking about like, repeat clients and like the people actually in your audience right now, but can we talk about leads and them at the same time as it relates to websites? Because look at the client journey that you just mentioned there. If someone is shopping for a wedding photographer, and what they are doing is they're going to many photographers' sites and comparing them against each other. Okay, this one has that many hours in the day of event. This one includes an engagement package. This one has like a memory book in addition to like a print package, like whatever, right? Once they start seeing what your competitors have, if it's not listed on your site, they're kind of marking you off as if, well, this person can't do engagement. If you do engagement, that absolutely needs to be there. But that is the beginning of the client journey. So bringing it back to exactly what you just said, when someone is hiring for a wedding photographer, again, just as an example, this could likely be changed to so many different industries. When they are hiring, they are not considering future stages or future use cases of working with this person. When the wedding is complete, they are at a point where they're very excited. They are very pleased. They've built that relationship with their photographer because that person has been behind the scenes of like a very intimate moment in their life. And they likely really don't want to lose that touch somehow. So even though it needs to be on your website, these ways that they're working, that you can work together, when someone's shopping in the beginning, they're not thinking about like doing an anniversary shoot. They're not thinking about even ways to like, again, the memory book type of a thing. They're not like an album. I don't know why I'm calling it a memory book.
I think it's cute, Karen.
Sorry, photographers. It's been a long time since I've been married. It is an album, and I know that. I have actually written for many photographers before. Sorry. To finish the point, they're not thinking of these things. So you need it from the beginning because you might have some people who are trying to get the whole kit and caboodle and know that they want something long term. But you need it on the website for the end, and this is where you come in to the T. I'm talking about marketing, but you're here to talk about systems because you need an offboarding system that is not a one-step thing. It is a like check-in process. It's a happy first anniversary, like this is my favorite pic from your wedding, whatever, right? So we're kind of here today to talk about marketing, but I will die on the hill that marketing and then lead and client experience are so intertwined that people really, I don't know why they have so many blinders on about the fact that like they're not separate things. They are separate things, but they're so important and to be done well together.
I feel like I just hear a lot of noise, and maybe it's because I am actively trying to avoid this noise. But there
Yeah.
are so many people that are talking about the fact that you need social media. You need to be creating new content, whether it's videos or, carousel posts or graphics or like whatever it is. And I feel like it's very easy to get caught in that hamster cycle, where you are on the wheel of death, as I call it, and you just can't get off. Like you're creating more content because you think that's going to bring you the leads. Whereas if you just focused on the people who, because
Mhm.
I talk about systems, if you just focused on the people who are already in your CRM,
Yeah.
or if you just focused on the people who are already in your email marketing program, your
Mhm.
job gets easier because you're not trying to build trust and get them to
Yes.
like opt in at the same time. People who
Oh
were
my
in
God.
your
Yeah.
CRM or your email marketing program, they opted in somehow. You didn't just pull their email out of, thin air and put it inside. Like somehow they raised their hand and they said yes to you. And so, what are you doing with the people once they say yes? I mean, one of the things that I see, and I don't really see it so much with service providers. Well, actually, maybe I do, but like someone inquires about your service and they don't book you, and it's like those people are dead to you. It's like, oh,
Yes.
they didn't book me. It's like everybody has this imaginary,
Oh my God.
72
Yeah.
hour window. Like they inquired and I'm giving them the pitch. And if they don't hire me, oh, it's always going to be a no. And so they just kind of cross them off. And instead of trying to figure out what it is that you could do with that person that is already inside of your world to get them to convert to be a client eventually, you just run off and start looking for a new person. That is so exhausting. Like, why is it that people feed into this constant need to bring in more people over and over again instead of just trying to like increase the conversion rate of the people that you already have by just a tiny bit? I mean, a 1% increase in your conversion rate for some people means thousands of dollars at the end of the year.
Yes.
And so,
100.
why are we not talking about this more?
No, I agree. To your point of like, you have to like completely cut off leads. I hear this all the time. I find it absolutely fascinating. Like, what the actual F people like. I have so many like personal stories or anecdotes that I can think of why I did not purchase at a specific time. But like, as the client or the potential, the lead here, never in my life did I think that that person would just suddenly feel like, this is not that people personalize it, but like, okay, that's done. We're like, we can't speak now. Because like, I remember once I was going to go into I guess it would be like a business course or community, maybe in the first, I don't know, 4 years of my business, but I was also pregnant at the time. And all I could think of was, I'm not stupid. I've done this for 4 years now. I know exactly how much effort and everything that this takes. And why would I want to spend all of this money if I am not convinced that I have the energy, right? Like, not even the time, because I've had children who don't sleep. So I know that there's just never time. But like, I don't even know if I have the energy to give my full self. What a waste of my money it is. That has nothing to do with the quality of that program. That has nothing to do with the price of that program. So I really like to remind people to think of their own experience as the lead or the customer before they start to, again, I don't think personalize is the right word, but it kind of is, personalize or make business decisions on how we speak to our one-time leads or our former leads. Because as long as you are not being a sleazy salesperson, there are so many ways to nurture past leads in a kind way, right? Like, you don't have to email them every week and be like, you remember that time you reached out to me? Like, good God, no, don't do that. But like, what if you emailed them like 2 or 3 months later and you were like, oh, I remember you were looking for this, and totally fine that you decided not to move forward, or it just wasn't the right time for you. I actually have this pop-up offer. Would you like to learn more about it? No pressure. I won't even send a word of sales copy until I hear that you're interested. Or just, hey, I was thinking of you. I know it wasn't the right time when we spoke last time, but are you still thinking of going in this direction? Is there anything I can help you with? Right? Like, there's just so many opportunities to speak to former leads. And I don't know. I see this too. I don't think about it as often as, maybe I should. It really tends to kind of come up more like situationally, but like, I think the problem is truly conditioning that we need a bigger audience, or we need to like increase our network, our audience. And that has become so ingrained in business owners. And I think actually this is where the problem is. You said this, like, nurture people on your email, nurture people on your CRM, but it is extremely obvious to those people when they are being ignored. Like, and you know how they know that? Because your marketing is talking to, I don't know, someone outside of their current realm, someone not in their, their needs set. It could be clear that maybe, I see this especially for people who do work with DIYers and done with you people. When clients will come to me and they'll say, I make a ton of money working with this set, but I think I can make even more money with like a done for you client. So like, I only want to speak to people who want to like offboard this, pay premium prices. I no longer want to speak to these DIYers who might hire me for like, a 3-month retainer for a couple of calls, whatever. Okay. If that is your business decision, 100% you're welcome. And I encourage any pivot that you would like. But I want to break this down for a second. I hear from them they're making good money. I often hear that they do like this type of clientele, but they have imagined a completely different clientele could do even more for them. Like,
Hmm.
this is all about them and their business. So, what they do is they start to be more vocal about, don't waste your time, your once you've reached a higher phase in business, you can offload this, right? Like, it all ends up kind of being negating that experience of the DIYer and negating that experience of the done with you people. The people in your audience who are actively paying you, who are pleased with their client experience, who refer you to people, and you're taking this, it's not even a risk, you're just leading your business on assumptions that you could do better elsewhere. So you're pivoting your marketing and you're ignoring the people who actually are supporting you. Again, huge caveat. If you want to change your business, please do. Like, don't this is not a judgment thing from me and Coley to say like you cannot speak to a different audience. Go ahead and do that if you want. But I think with marketing, when people start to get um, maybe that feast or famine in their business, or just a fear that they're not succeeding, or just overwhelmed with this noise that they hear online, the way that they react is what you said: produce a 10 times more content. And it's very often speaking not exactly to their current audience or their current clientele. So it doesn't serve you to ignore the people who are actually paying you, and it's wasting your time. Like, oh my god, the amount of content that is on the internet. Like, we're all sick of it, but we're all not we're all. I don't want to
No, I'm sick
pull
of it.
everyone into it. Yeah, we're all sick of it, but the majority of us play into it and wait and create content and add to the noise. So, I mean, it seems like the answer to that's kind of simple: of stop doing that.
Yes. But it's kind of interesting because while you were talking, I was listening you talk about, like you've been doing DIY, you've been serving that particular audience well, and you're wanting to move into your done for you. And one thing that I've heard from a couple different coaches, and I've always pushed back on them, they're like, okay, but no, like if you're continuously marketing your DIY, you could have someone who's potentially a great fit for your done for you, and they might cheapen out is the word that they would use and just buy the DIY. And I have always pushed back and said, no, I don't give a shit which one they start with. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, like if they get the DIY and they get in there and they don't finish or circumstances change, because I had a lot of people who were totally capable of DIY when they bought my course, but then all
Yeah,
of a sudden, the season changed and now they've
yeah,
got 20 clients that they're trying to help. And so then they're like, "Hey Coley, like I know I bought your course, but can I just upgrade and have you do it for me?" To which I always said yes. And now I'm
yeah,
seeing the same thing in my done with you. I'm actually getting people who originally did the DIY, or they originally did the done for you, and they're coming back to me for my new done with you container because they want to get their hands dirty. And so
yeah.
I would just really discourage anybody from like looking at your audience and trying to classify them as like DIY or done for you, or looking at them and automatically assuming that they want one offer based on a budget. Because I have plenty of people in my audience who could have afforded to pay me for my done for you, and they just didn't want to because at the end of the day, they wanted to make sure that they understood the systems. And so,
Yes.
don't market to somebody's presumed budget. Like that is not where you should be going with your business. And, if you're doing a good job of delivering, if you're doing a good job of identifying what the end result is from each of your offers, if they choose wrong, they will correct themselves. They will do that
Yes.
automatically. And so, I mean, my only thing was every once in a while, I would remind my course students, hey, just so that you remember, like I have this done for you. I don't do this anymore. So, just putting it out there. When I was still doing done for you, I would just every once in a while say, okay, if you haven't gotten your systems done, would you like to have a conversation about working with me and having me finish it for you? And
Yeah.
I always liked that because if they had done any part of the course, they were already more knowledgeable than they would have been if they hired me for done for you to start. Like they looked a majority of them. They looked at the course materials, they saw what I was suggesting as the overall client experience, and then we often customized it more in Done For You. But like they came into that container more knowledgeable than they were when they were in the DIY. Now, I have always been, I am marketing my results and not necessarily the container in which you get them. But I'm in a unique position in that my course and now my Done With You, both of those give you the same results. Finished
Right.
systems inside of Dubsado or Honeybook. So I'm talking about what you'll have on the other side, and then we can have a more nuanced conversation about how we're getting there. But again, if I was trying to fill spots for my Done With You, my first stop is not Instagram. My first stop is not Threads. My first stop is, okay, out of all these students that I've had in this course, which ones are probably feeling like it's time to make changes in their systems or that they never fully fixed or finished the systems that they started? I mean, that's place
Yeah.
one because they knew that you were the person to help them with it. Maybe they just made a bad choice. Maybe you
Hmm.
need to present another offer to them and they will be able to go in that direction.
Yeah, and honestly, again, I think this is a lot about assumptions. Like we make so many assumptions in business, and everyone does. I talk a lot about it in general just because of messaging and like brand messaging work that I do with clients because I'm actually studying data, because I'm interviewing former clients, because I'm doing customer and competitor research like away from them, meaning I will ask my clients to give me ideas of like who their competitors or clients are and like what they like or dislike, let's say. But I don't look at that until I do my own research so that I can then compare their assumptions against what I actually find on the big old wide world of the internet. It's very wrong all the time. It's often very wrong. Yeah, jump on in,
I
girlfriend.
don't want you to gloss over data. So, one of the things that I wanted to say a
Thank
couple
you.
minutes ago when you were talking about the data is people do make a lot of assumptions. And so, can we go back to that? If you join my email list and you don't buy my offer within a week, you're dead to me and you're just never going to buy from me. You need data on how long it actually takes people inside of your audience to make a purchase. And I always encourage people to do it in Airtable. What day did they join your email list? And then what day did they make their first purchase? Everybody should be calculating the number of days that it takes between those two, whether you're automatically doing it in Airtable or you're manually doing it every time you make a sale. That is data. That is what's going to help you figure out how to nurture your audience better because the assumption that if they don't buy in the first week, they're just never going to buy is likely to be blown out of the water if you figure out that it takes somebody an average of 100 days on your email
Yeah.
list in order to buy something. Now, I am also one of those people for a very long time, Aaron. 70 to 80% of the people who were buying my offers were not on my email list first. I was converting people off of sales pages, great. But it doesn't mean that they weren't getting nurtured. Lots of those
Yeah.
people were hearing me on other people's podcasts. They're listening to my podcast because, hello, we don't know who's listening to our podcast. I mean, there's no way for us to track that. So the
Pause.
people,
If you're not, hold on, pause.
uh-huh,
Everyone, before we move on from this podcast episode today, you need to go and subscribe to Coley James's podcast, which is Business First Creatives. As a funny story, last night I actually happened to be at my children's dance studio, and I had a parent who was sitting pretty close to me in a chair, and I realized I had not shared my own podcast link. So I pulled up Apple Podcasts just because it was the first thing that when I typed in POD in my Chrome extension bar thing over there, it came up. And she said, "Oh, what are you subscribed to?" And it's literally Business First Creatives, talk copy to me. What now with Trevor Noah? And I just got such a kick out of that because I do listen to so many more shows, but the only 3 podcasts I am subscribed to are yours, mine, and my boyfriend Trevor Noah's. So sincere apologies. This is the second time I've interrupted you, time number 3, and I get in trouble. So please continue. I apologize.
no, it's all good. Okay, how are you only subscribed to 3 podcasts? I'm literally
I don't.
subscribed to at least 60,
I
I'm
honestly
sure.
don't know. I
Wow.
think I I have no clue because I hear them. I see new episodes come in. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know what I'm doing, what's happening. But yeah, me, you, and Trevor. Okay, so you mentioned basically that like yes, those sales pages might have converted, but it's because you're nurturing your audience inside of your own podcast sphere as well as being a guest on other people's podcast.
Doesn't mean that everybody's getting nurtured in that way. I mean, I do know that there are some people that just hear me say something, they go to the sales page and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I need, and they buy it. But you
Yeah.
can't build a business assuming that everybody functions in that way. Sometimes we
No.
function in that way depending on what our pain point and what, how we're currently trying to solve that problem. But it doesn't mean, again, that if someone doesn't buy your offer in 72 hours in a week, that you should just write them off. Something that you did in your marketing worked to bring them
Yeah.
into your audience. And so what you do with them after that is up to you.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I get exhausted thinking about people constantly chasing the new leads. And every time I
Yeah.
talk to a coach who's like, "Oh, well, you need to expand your audience. Like you need to bring in more leads before your launch." I'm always like, "No. I have
Yeah. Yep.
700 people on my email list right now that according to what I'm seeing could potentially be a candidate for this offer. I want to know why they are not buying." I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Right.
curiosity, but it's also clearly they're on my email list. Clearly they're opening my emails because I am the most vicious person of getting rid of people if they don't open. I mean, and I don't even pay for my number of subscribers, which I think is hysterical because if you're paying for your subscribers, yes, don't just let dead weight sit on your email list. It's one thing if they're not buying. It's an entirely different thing if they are never opening your emails. They are just taking up space. So I have always been very diligent about going through my email list, every month, every quarter, whatever it is that I'm feeling. And if I find people, like for example, if they joined my email list from a bundle, if they never opened the email that I sent them from the bundle and it's now been 3 months, yeah, I'm not moving you through a cold subscriber flow. No, I'm just unsubscribing you. Like I will just do that for you because having you sit there and never open my emails is lowering my open rate. It's lowering my potential click rate. So, I mean, the health of your email list is something that everybody should be paying attention to. And again, it's why I'm saying if you need a cash infusion, if you're trying to fill your calendar, go back to the people who have already paid you, go back to the people who are currently on your email list, because if they are engaging with your content, it might just be that you need to speak to them in a different way to get that conversion.
100%. And, like I think that there's something you had said here about how long does it take to actually make the sale? Because so many businesses, I think, tend to feel frustrated with not getting more leads or maybe having a small amount. Like, I don't have 8 million leads in a year. It wouldn't make sense for my business model. But I am very well aware that my lead to client time is long. Like for my higher paid projects, obviously, for like strategy calls, people will cycle through that quicker. But for done for you work, it's a long lead time. So knowing that makes me feel a million times better than just assuming that no one likes me and no one's buying. And I have all these people on my list and they don't care. They do. It's just people don't need me. Oh, like it's like a wedding photographer. Like I'm not necessarily needed every year, every 6 months at all. I am needed a little bit more, sparingly than that.
But that brings us back to the bringing people back. If you
Yes.
yourself, as the professional in your business, don't know when people need your services again, they won't
Hmm.
either. And so, like Erin
Hmm.
said, I don't need to hire a copywriter every single year, especially if my offers are not changing. But
Yeah.
do I need to make sure that my SEO is still working? Hello, Erin just did a sprint for me on SEO. Yes. Do I need that every year? No. But like you know your audience best. And so it's kind of your job to like know when a new offer is right or a returning offer for the exact same thing, when that is right for someone who's already been a client in your business. And so you need to have a way to communicate that, whether it is in a one-to-one conversation inside of your CRM or it's you're doing it to your entire email marketing list inside a Flowdesk kit, whatever it is that you're using. But at the end of the day, like there is more money to be had inside of your CRM or your email marketing program, but it is really up to you to be strategic in how you are accessing that potential revenue.
Yeah, and this is bringing it back way, way to an earlier point that I had made off something you said. It's also why a truly nurtured offboarding experience is so vastly important, right? Like, you had said, you might not need copywriting every year. Oh no, I could give you like an extremely long list of how you literally, no joke. I'm always trying to tell my clients, like, you've come in through this door of my business, but what you don't realize is the vast amount of things that I touch
Mhm.
or could touch in your business: SEO, blog content, case studies, content strategy for your blog, or content strategy for your podcast or your YouTube channel or whatever. Writing those actual customer service emails, which you don't need to hire me for that. If you work with Coley, she has an actual like email thing within her program for systems and sessions, or Blueprint. Which one is it? Systems?
Well, there's templates in Blueprint, but in
Okay.
systems in session, you get that GPT that I created for that
Perfect.
email,
Right.
which, we could actually go off on that, Erin. I am struggling to make sure that people understand the value of client communication. And when I open my mouth and I say, oh, I have an email course, they automatically think email marketing. And I'm like, no, no,
No.
no. I mean, talking to your actual clients, not marketing
Yes.
yourself on a newsletter. But I mean, bringing it back around, you just said like a plethora of things that you will do. And I know that you do all of those things. Does your audience
Yeah.
know that you do all of those things?
No. Yeah.
No. Are
Listen.
you are you adequately communicating to people like I just did an SEO sprint with you? I'm assuming that
No.
the next step
I
would be
am
something like
very bad
blogging.
in.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm talking to
I
you
am.
right now, coach hat
Thank you.
on.
I'm not a great marketer for my own business, but I will say, to bring it back to the point that we're both making, I do think I do a great job explaining that to my current clients, right? Like onboarding wise, right? That does not mean the tricky thing with me is when, likely people come in through website copy very often, right? For more of a done for you project. When they offboard in the immediate stages, they are absolutely not thinking of moving forward with another project, often because they just paid me a large amount. They just paid a designer a large amount, and they're have to process this whole launch. But again, this is why a longer offboarding phase in my business is so important. I'm going to tell you the ways we can work together. I'm also going to tell you how you can prioritize that, because I don't want to waste people's time or money. And then I'm going to check back in with you and be like, hey, the site has actually launched. Let's celebrate that. Let's also make a plan. Even in this case, it might have to be for 3 months, like to check in 3 months from now so we can review that SEO and then get started on that blogging project that we talked about, right? So like you said this, it's a responsibility of the business owner. And yes, I am bad at marketing my own business. I will say that. But if it goes back to what we're talking about today, technically, isn't that doing the right thing, right? Like talking to my actual paid audience versus trying to attract new
Yes.
people?
Yes, because as you said, you are not a one trick pony. There are many ways that people could continue to work with you in a copywriting capacity in their business as it goes forward. And I think that if we wanted to really tie it back around to client experience, making sure that you have an awesome fucking client experience to start is how you make sure that those same clients would be interested in continuing the relationship with you in working in these other, offers that you have that are related but not the exact same thing that you did for them in the first case. And so, yes, it is your job to have an awesome client experience in the beginning. And then it is your job to do that check in, which you and I were talking about that on a call the other day. I mean, anybody who's doing any kind of service, it is, it is, it is so important that you are checking in with your clients down the line. Number one, to make sure that whatever it is that you did, that they are utilizing it and that it's working. That's when you get that like amazing client transformation data. Because
Yeah.
right after you work with someone on almost every service, yes, they can tell you what they liked about the process of working with you, but they don't actually have results for you. Especially those of
None.
us that are, I mean, if I'm setting up your systems and I'm saying you're going to save 10 hours per week, yeah, if I contact you next Friday, did you save 10 hours this week? The answer is not likely to be yes. But if I contact you in a month and I say, hey, How much time have you saved this month? Did you have leads that came in? Did you have an opportunity to test the systems? The responses that I get would be even better at 60 days, would be even better at 90 days. So like even if you're not formally offering these kind of check-ins as part of your paid service, you should absolutely be doing it because it is a way to make sure that clients are utilizing what you gave them, that they are getting the results, and that you do continue the relationship so that you could potentially pitch those adjacent offers down the line.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is like like me offering a suggestion here to the people that are listening, but if you want me to be honest, I honestly think the reason why people go so heavy in marketing or specifically social media, but in marketing in general, is because it is a um, easy procrastination type of work that they do in order to avoid the things that they need to do. Going into, like, I have Dubsado, for example. And what I was going to say, and I was thinking of when you were talking, is I invested in Dubsado. I learned how to use it. I set it up really well. But then I touched it a lot over the past 3 or 4 years.
I have an
Truly.
email for the current launch specifically talking about that. Continue, Erin.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, ask me anything you want, quote me in this email. I will absolutely be your poster child for this. But the truth of the matter is, I know when I set it up, I did a really good job. I was very proud of it. I tested everything, and it still mostly works. However, the gaps in it not working are obvious and bothersome. And to an average client, maybe, oh, no big deal. Like, you got sent the wrong link or whatever. But like, even like you, and I think when we did this, remember how many little hiccups we had with that sprint when we first set it up? And listen, Coley's a Dubsado person. It worked out lovely in my favor that I actually learned how to do something new. But how much easier, especially me being a writer, how much easier is it for me to like write a blog post on anything, literally anything I can think of and dream up in my head, than it is to go back into the Sado? And for me, honestly, I'd have to look at my notes to make sure why I did it in the first place the way that I did, and kind of cross check and say, oh, is that correct? Oh, no. Oh, here's where I messed up. Here's where I adjusted the workflow, and fix it. It is so much more fun to think about creating content, to post that content, to get feedback or praise from people on something that we have created, even if it's like a B-roll reel, right? Like, that's even easier than a blog post than it is to touch the things that we need to touch to have a better client experience, to have more sales, and all of that, right? So, I think I said I was going to lead with a lesson. That's not really that's more of I'm preaching at you, but I think maybe like take what I just said and really analyze if you're doing that in your own business, because I think that's where the majority of people, myself included many times, fall into that trap of creating more and more and more marketing stuff instead of just doing the work that they need to do.
I feel like it's also people want to be anonymous. And I'm going to have to explain that because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I think that people do that because when you're marketing in general, like the word marketing is one to many. You are putting these things out here. Even if you're emailing people, you're doing it to an entire list. You're not going into Gmail and typing out their name and then typing the message and then sending it. You're writing the email one time, you're selecting all the people that you want it to go to, and then you're doing it. And honestly, in most cases, it's not even that granular. Like, you're not selecting the people, you're selecting a segment, or you're sending it to your whole list. You can be very anonymous in that you are not having a direct one-to-one conversation. And I think that that's why people don't want to do what I'm telling them to do, because I'm telling you to have one-to-one conversations. And even if you're automating it, you are having a one-to-one conversation with someone as they move through your client experience. There is a chance they're going to reject you. There is a chance they're going to say no. So you would rather spend time on creating this content and your marketing and putting it out there on Instagram to where you're not really talking to one person. And if someone says yes, it's like, yay, this person said yes. But if you do it and it's a one-to-one conversation and they tell you no, you do feel a little bit defeated. But that's why I feel like we have to flip the mindset. We have to understand that what's that collecting no's or whatever it is? Like, you're going to collect so many no's before you get a yes, but the yes will come. In most cases, the yes will come, or that particular person on your newsletter or your client list or whatever it is, they will see themselves out. If you are
Yes.
no longer a fit for them, whether it's you gave them a bad client experience or they are just now beyond the services that you offer, they will go find someone else and they will figure out a way to exit your business. And so
Yeah.
don't like do all of your marketing. Don't set up how you are going to spend the time in your business trying to bring in new booked clients by making those decisions on whether or not you're going to get rejected by someone personally telling you no. If they tell you no now, it's probably not a no forever. Try again in 6 months and see if their circumstances have changed or if you have simply created an offer that is more aligned with what they actually need now versus what you offered them 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I think there's just a beautiful thing of getting comfortable with rejection. I have on an award-winning literary journal that myself and a peer co-founded after our MFA program. I think we've published 15 or 16 episodes at this point, along with some mini episodes. And before that, when I was still in my MFA program and just starting to submit my own creative writing, essays, nonfiction, fiction, all that stuff. Oh, I was so heartbroken when I got my rejections. It felt like an extreme personal rejection, not just of me, but of my actual craft. Like, you're not a good writer. I don't know why you went down this nonfiction route. You should have stayed in poetry. But guess what? You're a horrible poet too. Like, right? Like, that's how it felt, truly. The one of the biggest gifts I've ever had was that literary journal, in the sense that, and I tell people this constantly, I send thousands of rejections a year. And in those thousands of rejections, so many of them are quality writing that I would have published. Maybe I'm not publishing them because I've already accepted like something quite similar for that exact issue. Maybe I'm not publishing them because I've already published them once or twice and I can't have it be completely about them. Maybe I'm not publishing them because like 500 reasons, right? Like it does not have to be about you, but it's tough to kind of get over that hump of not seeing rejection as a personal thing. What I'm trying to say with this example is I think if you can go into the practice of getting rejected, then you do realize, oh, it's not that bad of a thing. Like, this is not actually about me. There's so much that I can learn from rejections. And it gives me so many opportunities to improve on so many things, because when you're rejected in certain ways, you can take, the lessons you've learned from them and adjust. So I don't know, practice getting rejected, I guess. Is that the takeaway
Collect your
here? Like,
no's.
go and practice. Yeah, go collect those no's. Don't let it bring you down. Just know that it's just a normal part of actively putting yourself out there. Because the only people who are absolutely 100% guaranteed not to succeed are the people who are not putting themselves out there.
Don't try. Yes.
Right. All right, Coley. I feel like, listen,
You and I
it's
can
getting a
talk
long
forever. I
episode.
know.
Yeah.
Guys, we're looking at the clock and we have decided that we are going to wrap this up because otherwise,
Mhm.
Erin and I could just talk for another hour. And if you want to hear more of a conversation, she's going to be on my podcast soon. So it's all good.
Yes. And last time we actually met, we talked about the idea of Coley and I doing somewhat more of like a regular podcast, like conversation thing. Because is it Sabrina that you do your quarterly check ins with? I recently listened to a couple of Coley and Sabrina's quarterly podcast check ins where they kind of talk about their business. And I thought it was so fun. I don't want to do the same thing with Coley, but I would love to have Coley on here somewhat regularly talking about things like this. So maybe when this episode goes live, we can put a little like questionnaire in the show notes. Like, what would you like Erin and Coley to talk about? All right. Listen, thank you. Thanks for coming, Coley. I must shut my mouth now. Everyone go listen to Business First Creative Podcast. And that's it, really. Coley, you have anything else to say?
I don't, because I literally said I'm not taking anything, because by the time this episode airs, I'm not doing anything special in January except for sitting my ass in a chair and doing client work. Like, I have
Yes.
things going on with my course. I have things going on with my Done With You. I'm like, there will be nothing new until February. So, I mean, come listen to the podcast. That is my ask
But
of you. Please and thank you.
is this not good timing though, right? Like you're coming on the show, you're providing value, you're making it clear. Like there's no hard pitch here. It's not like by the time this episode goes live, you have 3 days to enroll in Coley's XYZ. Nope, that gives you like at least a solid month at this point to learn about Coley if she's new to you, right? Get in her world, like develop trust and figure out whether, you want to buy from her in the future. And then keep your ears out, keep your eyes open and see what she's got coming for you once January kind of rolls through and she has survived the beginning of 2026.
That part. Well, Erin, thank you
All
so
right.
much for having me on, and I can't wait for our next conversation.
All right. I'll see you next week where actually, no, I won't see you next week where we keep talking copy. I'll see you in 2026, you fools, where we keep talking copy. All right. Bye.